Is Taweez, amulet, allowed in Islam? Please watch the full video. We also have Fatwa al-Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah on this issue, for our Wahhabi friends. Taweez, amulets. The definition of a taweez is simply a written dua from the Quran or a hadith, and is for the one who cannot read or has not memorized that particular dua. It is written on a piece of paper and is worn around the neck. We, the Ahlus Sunnah, believe that to wear a taweez around the neck is permissible if the dua contained in it is written from the Quran or a hadith. Prophet Muhammad, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, used to recite dua and then blow on to the sick person. The companions of the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, also did this, and they wrote the dua on a piece of paper and placed it around the neck of a person if they could not read it. Of course, the duas from the Quran and our hadith have the power to heal the sick. Some people say that if you wear the taweez you are committing shirk, but we shall prove, with the help of Allah, that it is permissible to wear a taweez. The Quran has the power of healing. Allah Most High says in the Quran, We send down in Quran that which is a healing and a mercy to the believers. Surah Banu Israel, verse 82. Qadi Shawkani writes, if the Quran's duas are recited and blown on the sick, they will be cured. When the non-believers recite the Quran, their blasphemic disease will be cured. Tafsir al-Qadiyah, under Surah Banu Israel, verse 82. Proof of wearing the taweez. Hafiz ibn Kathir and Qadi Shawkani write, Amr ibn Shu'ayb, may Allah be pleased with him, said that Rasulullah, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, taught my father and grandfather a dua which we would read before going to sleep, to protect us from fear and anguish. We told our elder children to recite this dua before going to sleep as well. But for those children who were not yet literate, we would write it and then put it around their necks. Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal Volume 2, Abu Dawud, in Chapter of Medicine, Tafsir ibn Kathir, under Surah al-Mu'minun, verse 97, and Qadi Shawkani, Fath al-Qadiyah, under the same verse. It is permissible to read dua and blow upon the sick. Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim write, when a person who was sick or in some distress they would go to the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, who would then place his hand on the area of pain and recite a dua and then blow on to him. Bukhari, Muslim, Chapter of Tib. Imam Muslim writes, when the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, was ill for the last time, Angel Jibril, peace be upon him, came and recited dua and blew on to the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace. Muslim, Chapter of Tib. Imam Muslim writes, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, relates that when the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, was ill for the last time, she recited Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas and then blew on to the Prophet's, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, hands. The Prophet then blew this onto his own face and body because his hands had more blessing than Aisha's, may Allah be pleased with her. Muslim, Chapter of Tib. From the above narrations, it proves that to blow after reciting duas onto the sick is sunnah, and the more pious the person is, the more healing power he has because he is blessed more than the less pious. Hafiz ibn Taymiyyah writes, it is permissible to recite duas and then blow upon the sick in Islam, but the words must be from the Quran or a hadith. If the words are not, then it is not permissible. Ibn Taymiyyah, at Tawassul, Chapter on blowing onto the sick. Questions Q. Some people ask, how is it allowed to blow duas onto the sick when some ahadith say this is forbidden? Allama Sadi has written the answer to this question in great detail. He has also included the opinion of all the other great scholars, and we will present this here. Allama Sadi writes, Imam an-Nawawi in Sharh Muslim states, there are two types of ahadith concerning blowing. Reciting a dua and then blowing onto a person. One of the types is transmitted in Bukhari, there will be people who will enter paradise without any questioning, who have never been blown upon. Imam Muslim has also recorded a hadith in support of those who do not ask to be blown upon. Imam Bukhari in the chapter on Tib, medicine, has written duas that our Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, recited when doing dam, reciting a dua and then blowing onto a person. Imam Muslim states in the chapter on virtues of the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, that, when our Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, was ill, the angel Jibril came to him and performed the blowing. The above types of ahadith apparently seem to contradict each other, but in reality there is no contradiction. The former type of hadith refers to the prohibition of having read something that is not from the Quran and Sunnah, i.e. something that has pictures, diagrams or words not from the Quran or Sunnah, and then blow upon someone. The latter types of ahadith which permit dam refer to those kalamat, words or verses, which have been taught by the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace. Allama Sadi, Shah Sahih Muslim, chapter of Tib. In the same way as above, there are two types of ahadith concerning Taweez. There are many narrations that forbid the use of Taweez and also many permitting their use. Imam al-Qurtubi wrote in detail about both types of ahadith concerning Taweez. The Taweez that are forbidden are those Taweez from the time of ignorance, those which are satanic and contain an element of shirk, voodoo and magic, etc. The Taweez, which are permitted, are those written with duas evidently from Quran and ahadith only. Al-Qurtubi, at Tadkarat, chapter on Taweez. Here are the narrations which show the permission for one to wear a Taweez around one's neck. Allama Alusai al-Hanafi, in his Tafsir of the Quran, writes, according to Imam Malik, it is permitted to put around the neck the Taweez written with the name of Allah. Imam Baqir also stated that it is permitted to put such a Taweez around the neck of a child. Al-Mani, chapter 15, under Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse 97. Allama Shami al-Hanafi writes, it is permitted to write a Taweez and put it around the neck. It would be better if a person recites the duas taught by the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace. But if a person cannot read or is too young to recite, then it is permitted for that person to put it around the neck. Rad al-Muqta, chapter on Qiraat, Sadi, Shah Sahih Muslim, chapter on Tib. To conclude, it can be said that those verses that oppose the Quran, Sharia, or the Sunnah are forbidden to read and also forbidden to put around the neck. But as for the duas and verses from the Quran and Sunnah, it is permitted to be written and put around the neck of a small child, illiterate or a sick person. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah writes in his Fatwa, Taweez is, in the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful. Hanging or wearing of amulets, Taweez, is normally permissible for protection or healing provided certain conditions are met. 1. That they consist of the names of Allah Almighty or His attributes. 2. That they are in Arabic. 3. That they do not consist of anything that is disbelief. 4. The user does not believe the words have any effect in themselves, but are empowered to do so by Allah Most High. It is narrated from Amr ibn Shu'aib, from his father, from his grandfather, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, Allah be pleased with them all, that the Messenger of Allah, Allah bless him and give him peace, used to teach them, the Sahabas, for fearful situations the following words: I seek refuge in Allah's perfect words from His wrath, the evil of His servants, the whispered insinuations of devils, and that they come to me. Abdullah ibn Amr used to teach these words to those of his sons who had reached the age of reason, and used to write them and hang them upon those who had not reached the age of reason, narrated by Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi classed it as an authentic narration. In the Musannaf of Imam Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, the permissibility of hanging Taweezes is reported from many of the companions and early Muslims, Salaf, including Sayyid ibn al-Musayyab, Atta, Mujahid, Abdallah ibn Amr ibn Sirin, Ubaydullah ibn Abdallah ibn Ammar, and others. Allah be well pleased with them all. See, Al-Musannaf, 5.439. Due to the above, most of the scholars have declared the using of amulets, Taweez, permissible as long as the above conditions are met. It is similar to using medication, which is permissible and not against the concept of reliance in Allah, tawakkul, or monotheism tawhid. However, it is not permissible to regard the Taweez to be effective in itself, just as it is not permissible to regard medicines to be effective in themselves. As for that which is reported from some, including Ibn Mas'ud, Allah be pleased with him, that hanging Taweezes is shirk, this is understood to mean those Taweezes that resembled the ones used in the days of ignorance, Jahiliyyah, or if used thinking that it is the Taweez itself that cures or protects, not Allah, or if it contains impermissible invocations or ones whose meaning is not known. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Allah have mercy on him, writes in his Fatwa, it is permissible for an ill or troubled person, that certain verses from the Quran are written with pure ink, then it is washed and given to the ill to drink. Ibn Abbas, Allah be pleased with him, is reported to have mentioned a certain dua that should be written and placed close to the woman who is experiencing hard labor at the time of giving birth. Sayyidina Ali, Allah be pleased with him, says, this dua should be written and tied to the arm of the woman. We have experienced that there is nothing more amazing than this. Fatwa Ibn Taymiyyah, 1965. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah's student Imam Ibn al-Qayyim also narrates the permissibility of using taweezes from a number of Salafs including the great Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Allah have mercy on him. Thereafter Ibn al-Qayyim himself quotes various taweezes, Zad al-Mad, 3-180. In view of the foregoing, it becomes clear that generally using of taweezes is not something that is impermissible or shirk. However, it is necessary that the above-mentioned conditions are met. Today we have people who are victims of immoderation. There are some people who declare all types of taweezes to be shirk and kufr. Others, on the other hand, think taweezes to be everything. Both these types of understandings are incorrect. Using of taweezes is permissible, but with moderation. Normally it is better to recite the du'as which are prescribed for every problem and illness, and along with that resort to medical treatment. However, if taweezes are used sometimes, then it is permissible. If there is a fear that a person will begin to think the taweez to be effective in itself, then he should not be given the taweez. This will be the decision of the person who is giving the taweez, and not for us to decide for him. There are many people who never make dua and are neglectful of the Sharia injunctions, but always depend on taweezes. For such people, it is better not to give them taweezes, rather to direct them to the straight path. Once, a sister asked me to mention to her a dua or write something for her in order to get married to someone she desired, and she also mentioned that her duas were not being answered. I asked, do you cover yourself when you emerge out of your home? No, was the reply. I said, do you perform your salat, prayers? Again, no was the reply. I said, from tomorrow, you make this special dua after the Fajr salat, and you carry on performing this for 6 months, and inshallah your dua will be accepted. Also a very important taweez is that you recite a certain dua and blow on your scarf and wear that scarf when emerging out of your home. In conclusion, generally it is permissible to use amulets, taweezes, in compliance with the conditions mentioned above. However, if there is something that is impermissible, then it will not be allowed.